Welcome to Homeless U.S. News.
On the dim streets of Philadelphia, life flickers between hope and despair. They call this place Kensington, a land once buzzing with promise, industry, and the heartbeat of the American dream. But behind that glamour, thousands drift in silence, their names sinking into oblivion in the cold wind. In 2025, over 5,191 people in Philadelphia sleep without shelter each night, up 10% from the prior year, Pew reports. But these aren't statistics. They are human stories of courage, loss, and will to survive. This isn't just homelessness. This is the heartbeat of Philadelphia, crying out for compassion before it vanishes into the darkness, as spotlighted in Homeless U.S. News. What if one neighborhood harbored 35% of a city's unsheltered? Kensington does, exploding with fentanyl-laced tranq, creating zombie streets where users slump in open-air horror. Shockingly, unsheltered here jumped 23% in a year, making hope scarce amid despair. Ever question how an industrial powerhouse became opioid ground zero? Kensington covers 0.957 square miles, with a 44.7% poverty rate, cramming 48,854 residents per square mile into survival's cauldron. The reality of homelessness in Kensington. When the first light of morning spills over Kensington Avenue, it touches a world most people choose not to see. Steam rises from manhole covers, blending with the faint smoke of burning trash used for warmth. Along the cracked sidewalks, tents and tarps rustle awake, revealing faces worn by wind, exhaustion, and time. The city above moves fast. Trains roar overhead, cars rush to work, but down here, the rhythm is slower, heavier, and full of quiet struggle. Each soul is fighting a private battle that few stop to understand. Among them is Daniel, a man in his 40s who once worked at a printing shop just a few blocks away. When the factory shut down, he lost not only his job but the meaning of routine, the simple comfort of knowing where he belonged. One night became a week on the street, then months. Yet every evening, Daniel takes out a small notebook from his jacket, its pages filled with poems he's written about the people around him, stories of laughter shared over a single cup of coffee, or of helping a stranger fix a broken bicycle. Writing reminds me I'm still human, he says softly, his eyes reflecting both sorrow and pride. This is Kensington, not just a place of despair, but of perseverance. You can feel it in the way people share a sandwich, in the way they nod at each other with wordless respect. It's a fragile community bound by survival, but also by empathy. At Homeless US News, we walk these streets to tell stories like Daniel's, stories that reveal the strength hidden beneath the scars. Because homelessness is not the end of a life, sometimes it's where humanity begins again. Ripple effects on the community. Beyond the rows of tents and broken sidewalks, the struggle in Kensington isn't just about those living on the streets. It touches everyone. Families who once felt safe now walk their children past scenes of pain and survival every morning. Parents lower their voices when their kids ask hard questions they can't answer. Parks that once echoed with laughter now sit quiet, the swings still, the grass worn thin. It's as if the heart of the neighborhood beats a little slower each day, weighed down by worry and loss. For small business owners, that weight feels personal. The corner stores and coffee shops that once gave Kensington its pulse now see fewer faces at the door. Some owners still offer food or small favors to those struggling outside, because kindness is the only thing they can afford to give. But as sales fall and hope flickers, the sense of community they fought to preserve begins to fade. It's not greed that keeps them going, it's love for the place they still call home. And yet, even through the exhaustion, there's a quiet strength here. Churches open their doors, neighbors share what little they have, and volunteers walk the same streets each night offering comfort. People argue over solutions. Some call for tougher rules, others for softer hearts, but beneath it all lies one truth. No one wants to give up on this place. At Homeless US News, we've seen it firsthand. The courage, the fatigue, the stubborn hope that refuses to die. Kensington's story isn't just about struggle, it's about resilience. And maybe, if enough of us care to listen, it's also about the possibility of healing. One street, one hand, one story at a time. Life on the edge of the homeless. Daily existence for Kensington's homeless in 2025 teeters on a precarious edge, a relentless grind shaped by uncertainty and survival instincts. Mornings often begin with scavenging for food amid the avenue's debris, where population density hits 48,854 per square mile, intensifying competition for limited resources like the 300 daily meals from Street Francis Inn. Afternoons involve navigating agitation from substance mixtures, as depicted in recent YouTube documentaries like America's Zombie Outbreak in Philly, showing unsteady figures foraging in a neighborhood with 21,003 residents facing 36.1% household poverty. Evenings bring huddles and tents along the 1.3-mile stretch, vulnerable to weather and conflicts, with chronic health issues untreated due to stretched services handling 10,000 opioid patients yearly. Stories from uncensored life in Kensington, Philadelphia. Today, 2025 on Facebook reveal quiet moments of teaching skills to kids or knitting for warmth, humanizing the struggle in a place where 77% of overdoses involve fentanyl. Basic hygiene remains a luxury, with scarce facilities leading to widespread exhaustion. This edge of life reality, captured in Life in Kensington. The end of July 2025 underscores the emotional toll, yet sparks of hope emerge through community bonds. What small change could ease this daily battle for you or someone you know? Homeless Us News brings these truths to light, fostering empathy. Personally, witnessing this edge reminds us of fragility, encouraging gratitude and action to support those balancing on the brink. The role of fentanyl in the crisis. In Kensington, the sun rises over streets heavy with loss. What was once a proud working-class neighborhood has become a symbol of America's struggle with fentanyl, a drug so powerful that a few grains can steal a life. It spreads through alleys and sidewalks like a shadow, claiming fathers, daughters, and friends who never imagined ending up here. Ambulances flash red through the dawn, and the air hums with both exhaustion and hope. One of those faces belongs to Melissa, a 29-year-old mother from South Philly. She came to Kensington searching for her brother, who'd vanished into addiction. Weeks later, she found herself trapped in the same spiral, homeless, hungry, and haunted by regret. "I thought I could save him," she said, "but now I just pray we both make it out." She spends her mornings sketching on cardboard scraps, drawing the house she dreams of returning to with her little boy. Her art, fragile yet full of heart, reminds everyone who sees it that humanity still flickers beneath the pain. More than 80% of Philadelphia's overdoses now involve fentanyl, overwhelming hospitals and outreach teams. Yet compassion endures. Volunteers walk the same streets daily, reviving bodies, feeding souls, and offering a hand where judgment once stood. At Homeless Us News, we share these voices so the world remembers, behind every tragedy is a beating heart, still hoping for one more sunrise, one more chance to begin again. Root causes of the crisis. Behind every tent in Kensington lies a history of lost opportunity and neglect. Once the beating industrial heart of Philadelphia, the neighborhood's decline began when factories closed, taking with them stable jobs and a sense of purpose. What replaced them were low-wage service jobs that can't match rising costs. With a median income around $28,000, far below the city average, many residents hover one paycheck away from eviction. Housing, the foundation of stability, has become unreachable. Philadelphia lacks more than 64,000 affordable units, while rents continue to rise. Long public housing waitlists leave families stranded, and many renters with poor credit or past evictions are turned away. In Kensington, where more than 65% of residents struggle financially, overcrowded and unsafe apartments often precede homelessness. Around 10,000 evictions each year push more people toward life on the streets. Mental health and addiction compound the struggle. Underfunded care systems leave trauma and depression untreated, turning vulnerability into crisis. Long-standing racial and economic inequities make matters worse, especially for Black and Latino families locked out of opportunity by systemic barriers. These stories reveal more than local hardship. They expose a national wound. Kensington stands as a mirror to America's inequality, where broken policies and poverty collide. Through Homeless Us News, we aim to uncover these hidden truths and spark compassion, the first step toward rebuilding hope. Government response strategies. In Philadelphia's ongoing fight against homelessness, the government's 2025 strategies reflect both determination and complexity. Under the Kensington Community Revival Plan 2024-2025, city leaders are blending compassion with accountability, channeling more than $100 million into housing, healthcare, and street-level outreach. Across Kensington's struggling corridors, newly deployed mental health response teams work hand-in-hand with social workers and recovery specialists, approaching those without shelter not as problems to be removed, but as neighbors in need of care. These teams provide emergency medical support, transport to safe shelters, and guidance toward addiction recovery programs, offering what many call the city's most humane response in years. Meanwhile, long-term efforts take root under the HOME initiative, with officials pledging 30,000 new affordable housing units by 2030. This effort pairs housing with job training, counseling, and substance recovery opportunities. Recognizing that stability grows from more than just a roof overhead, partnerships with organizations like Project Home and Prevention Point bridge gaps between government policy and street-level reality, extending hands of hope where red tape once stood. Even law enforcement sees reform, as officers receive trauma-informed training to respond with empathy rather than intimidation. Yet, despite visible progress, the struggle continues. Many residents voice frustration over encampment clearances and the slow pace of improvement. Still, open community meetings and public progress reports are fostering trust and collaboration. In the heart of Kensington, these actions symbolize a shift, proof that real change begins when governance listens, adapts, and leads with humanity. This is the evolving story of resilience, as told through Homeless US News, where awareness fuels action and compassion lights the way forward. The cries for help of the homeless. In the heart of Kensington's avenues, where daily hardships unfold relentlessly, the homeless community's cries for help echo through social media and personal testimonies, spotlighting deep-seated suffering often met with governmental oversight. As documented in mid-2025 YouTube releases like Kensington's Collapse, Lost Families, and No Way Out from August, residents share raw accounts of instability, pleading for immediate access to stable housing and support services in a neighborhood where chronic homelessness persists among 1,080 adults citywide. These digital testimonies, amplified on platforms such as TikTok with posts dated June 15 and September 5, reveal frustrations over delayed aid, with individuals highlighting how basic needs like hygiene and meals go unaddressed despite repeated appeals. The pleas manifest in subtle yet powerful forms, through art on scraps of paper or shared meals that foster solidarity, as seen in Facebook posts from May 25, where addiction and poverty stories underscore calls for compassion over mere containment. In Kensington, with its 21,003 residents grappling with a 44.7% poverty rate, these outcries expose systemic delays, as voices on Instagram Reels from September call out the slow pace of interventions, leaving many feeling overlooked. Stories from Streets of Philadelphia, Kensington Ave documentary from the 1st of October 2025 expose how bureaucratic hurdles perpetuate vulnerability, with individuals advocating for direct involvement in solutions. This resistance, captured in Uncensored Life in Kensington, Philadelphia Today 2025 on social channels, emphasizes the emotional toll, fostering awareness while urging for equitable policies. How can we ensure these pleas lead to tangible support rather than continued disregard? In Homeless Us News, these heartfelt expressions remind us that true progress starts with acknowledging and acting on ignored voices. From my viewpoint, these cries illuminate the strength in vulnerability, encouraging us to listen actively and advocate for systems that prioritize human needs, turning suffering into catalysts for empathy and reform. Solutions for a bright future. Looking ahead, solutions for Kensington's homelessness and fentanyl crisis in 2025 pivot on innovative, multifaceted approaches that prioritize prevention, housing, and community revival. The Housing First model, proven effective nationwide, gains traction here, with Philadelphia aiming to add 30,000 affordable units under the HOME plan, targeting areas like Kensington where median rents have surged 20% in the last decade. Investments in crisis response systems, as outlined in the 2025 State of Homelessness Report, emphasize expanding shelters to over 6,000 beds citywide and integrating supportive services like mental health care, which serves 1,080 chronically homeless adults annually. Harm reduction strategies evolve, with organizations like Prevention Point distributing Narcan and clean supplies, reducing overdose risks in a city that saw a 15% drop in fentanyl-related incidents by mid-2025. Economic opportunities flourish through job training programs, connecting residents to employment in revitalizing sectors, while green initiatives under the Kensington Community Revival Plan aim to create safer, cleaner spaces with new parks spanning 5 acres. Collaboration between governments and nonprofits fosters equity, addressing the 65.8% of Kensington residents classified as struggling by bolstering renter protections and income supports. Envisioning a vibrant future, these efforts could functionally end homelessness, as local experts suggest, by bridging the income-rent gap and preventing evictions, which affect 10,000 households yearly in Philadelphia. What innovative idea do you have for building a brighter tomorrow in such communities? Through Homeless Us News, we see that sustainable solutions not only rebuild neighborhoods but restore dignity. In reflecting personally, these forward-thinking strategies inspire optimism, showing that with commitment and creativity, we can turn cycles of hardship into pathways of prosperity for all. Nonprofit organizations championing change. In the shadowed corridors of Kensington, where the fight against homelessness and addiction rages on, nonprofit organizations stand as beacons of unwavering support, channeling resources and compassion into the heart of the crisis. As of 2025, groups like the Bethesda Project operate across 11 locations in Philadelphia, offering shelter and supportive services to over 1,200 adults annually, focusing on long-term stability rather than temporary fixes. The Sunday Love Project, meanwhile, tackles food insecurity head-on, distributing meals to thousands weekly in Kensington's hardest-hit blocks, where the area's 44.7% poverty rate exacerbates daily hunger. Savage Sisters Recovery, a grassroots powerhouse, conducts street outreaches advocating for those with substance use disorders, providing harm reduction supplies and connecting individuals to recovery programs amid Philadelphia's ongoing opioid challenges. Street Francis Inn, a staple since the 1972, serves the community with daily meals, clothing, and hygiene kits, feeding up to 300 people per sitting in a neighborhood where access to basic needs remains scarce. Better Days Ahead Outreach. Another vital player hands out survival gear directly to the unsheltered, reaching hundreds monthly in Kensington's 0.957 square miles of concentrated need. These organizations don't just provide aid, they build relationships, offering job training, counseling, and pathways to housing. Project Homes Inn of Amazing Mercy, for instance, houses 62 individuals in recovery, emphasizing direct entry from the streets without prerequisites. Yet, the work is relentless, with funding gaps and overwhelming demand testing their limits. How can communities amplify these efforts to create lasting impact? In Homeless Us News, we highlight these unsung heroes, reminding us that collective action can transform despair into hope. From my perspective, these nonprofits embody the essence of humanity, teaching us that true change comes from listening and lifting others, fostering a ripple of positivity in even the darkest corners. Conclusion. Kensington stands today as more than just a neighborhood in distress. It is a mirror reflecting America's deeper social fractures. The once bustling industrial hub has become a crossroads where poverty, addiction, and housing instability converge, revealing how economic neglect and unequal opportunity can dismantle even the most resilient communities. Every tent pitched on these streets tells a story of someone who once had a home, a dream, and a plan for tomorrow. Yet, when the system falters, when jobs disappear, healthcare becomes unreachable, and housing prices surge, survival becomes the only plan left. Despite the despair, hope flickers in small acts of humanity that often go unseen. Volunteers distributing hot meals, outreach workers offering clean supplies, and faith-based organizations extending a helping hand all represent the quiet strength that keeps this community from collapsing entirely. These gestures of compassion, though small, ripple outward, reminding us that even in the darkest corners, kindness remains a powerful force for change. The resilience of those living in Kensington is not simply about endurance. It is a testament to the will to live, to love, and to rebuild. As we draw this chapter of Homeless U.S. News to a close, let this serve as more than just an observation. It's a call to awareness and action. The stories of Kensington should move us not to pity, but to purpose. Real change begins when we listen, when we humanize statistics, and when we realize that homelessness is not an identity but a circumstance. If America's forgotten streets are ever to heal, it will take collective empathy, accountability, and a shared commitment to ensure that no one is left to fade into the margins. Because behind every struggle lies a story waiting to be heard. And at Homeless U.S. News, we'll keep listening, sharing, and shining a light where others look away.